My name is Joe Ballinger. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm an online fitness coach, and I'm someone that just takes pride in what I do in terms of coaching other, mainly male guys to get into shape. Done some work on and off of Mark over the years with different things. Obviously, I'm sponsored by Trained by JP Nutrition and clothing as well, so obviously affiliated with all the guys over there, and I love fitness. I love bodybuilding. Obviously, a competitive bodybuilder, striving to get my pro card. Came so close over the past couple of years, but we keep moving. I've had a little bit of time, a couple of months away earlier on this year to kind of like recalibrate myself. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, here we are. This is me, and I appreciate you having me on the call.
Yeah, awesome. So in the beginning, what made you even get into bodybuilding in the first place? Like, how old were you? Why? How did it happen?
I was around about 20, 21. For context, I'm 32 now, so I've been doing it for a little while in terms of bodybuilding. When I was younger, a little bit before that, I used to play. Well, I was playing rugby. I was playing rugby at an alright level, semi-professional level, and what I did from there, as I started doing that, I also started competing in powerlifting. I became a British, European, and world powerlifting champion back when I was 19, 20, which was a good feat of mine at the time, and that got me into kind of really properly lifting heavy weights. I was always lifting weights before that, but with no real structure. It's kind of like I was younger, I was teaching myself, and I kind of like those years, and you kind of you're teaching yourself, and we didn't have access to obviously social media or anything back then. I say back then as if it was quite a long time ago, I suppose. But yeah, I didn't have access to social media or anything, so it's kind of like do what the big guy in the gym says. That kind of funny analogy, but it's actually what we used to do. And then at 21, I started kind of going to a bit more of a shall we say, serious bodybuilder gym. And so getting into it a little bit more, discovered that, I started to grow quite quickly. I wouldn't say I have like the best genetics in the world or anything like that, I definitely don't, but I seem to react quite well to sort of different training stimuluses and pushing myself a little bit harder in the gym. And then at 24, I did my first show, which I won, which was great back in the days of Miami Pro. So that was good times. And then from there, I think winning that show, I had no idea going into it what it would entail. I think winning that show and the feeling I had, that elation of being on stage, I just loved the feeling of it. And I was like, I'm going to do this again. So I actually competed the next week, won another show. And then I had a little bit of time off and kind of just started going from there. And I did that first one. I did actually have a coach for it. And then that was kind of like, oh, sorry, someone's ringing me. That's not ideal. Let's go back. Someone rang me, came through on my phone on the screen. Apologies. But yeah, it was from there I started obviously competing at 24, and then I've competed every single year since then. And obviously we're now in 2022, so there's not been a year that I've not competed in over those past 8 years or so now of competing. And I'd like to think I've done pretty well. I've always come in the top 5 in every single show I've done. I've done over 30 shows, apart from 2 shows, which was in 2020, which was my worst year of competing so far. As you know, it was the COVID year. But we take the wins with the losses, win the W's with the L's. But no, I love the sport. I love what it brings me in terms of like, the sacrifice and dedication. It's built me kind of who I am internally within my brain, my ability to work hard and push myself towards those things that I want to achieve for sure.
I had no idea you did so many. I knew you did a lot of competitions, but that is an insane amount. Like where do you get that resilience from to just keep? I know people that have done one comp prep and they would never do it ever again because it like broke them. So how do you do it?
Well, I think initially in my career as well, before I started getting onto kind of bigger stages, I just used to enjoy the prep. Like, obviously, it's difficult, but I think the fact that I was winning really helped. I'm a really competitive guy. I like to win. I don't go into anything to not win. If I don't believe I can win it, then I don't really see much point in doing it, especially because of the sacrifice that it takes for me. Obviously, I know some people are different, of course, and that's completely fine. And that's just my personal viewpoint on it. And I think early days I was winning, and then obviously as I got bigger, moving through the ranks, shall we say, and it led to more, I guess, notoriety in the industry, shall we say. It helped me build my brand, build my career. It gave me a pedestal to stand on, but also not to just be defined by that. And I always like to highlight that. that hopefully I'm not defined just by bodybuilding. I like to think I have a few more strings to my bow than that. But however, I do love bodybuilding, and I love, like I said, what it brings to me, and then what I've taken from that I can then give to others in terms of my experience, education, and knowledge.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what a position to be in as a coach. So within all this, where did you start coaching? Was it in the early days, or were you quite far in?
So I've always been interested in physical education. So obviously we used to do like PE and stuff back at school, and I was always top set at school, super, the keen guy for sports, playing all the games and stuff, all sports. So I've always had a keen interest in sports education. From there, I went to uni when I was 19. I did sport coaching and development there. I actually ended up dropping out in my second year because I broke my leg playing rugby. It wasn't like academic or anything like that. I passed everything fine, but I couldn't get to lectures. It was a bit of a nightmare, so I ended up dropping out. But within that year, then I did my PT qualification. So I did all of that stuff. Then I started working for my dad for a little bit, and this was the kind of period of my life I was a little bit lost, because I was like 22, 23, and I was working for my dad, and also my dad's got a good job and everything else. He works in like wood machinery, makes bespoke doors, windows, conservatories, and stuff like that. And I was doing it, and I was like, I know I'm built for more. I know I've got more to give. I just felt like I was doing it. I was taking the easy road out because dad just gave me a job. It was easy, working for family business. I could go and own it one day. And I was like, I feel like that's a fail safe, and I've always got that if I need it. So I went back to uni, signed up for a fast track degree. So rather than 3 years, I was like, I want to do it 2 because I don't want to waste another year, so to speak. So I went back. They were like, we don't think you should maybe do this, and I was like, fuck you, I'm doing it. Excuse my French, but so I went on, persuaded to let me on this fast track course. I smashed it out. I did what did I do? I did strength and conditioning this time around, so and I passed everything. Did really well. Got 2-1, so I was really happy with that. I was actually 2% to get first as well, so I was like, Anyway, we moved. So that really helped me build my underlying knowledge as a coach. Learning about things like psychology, biomechanics, anatomy and physiology, all these things, nutrition. So it's not just, for coaching nowadays, you'll know there's a gray area, right? There's no governing body. There's no one to tell you need to achieve this to be able to coach people, which I think is kind of like, it's like, how do you govern it really? But then it's a difficult one. It's a hard one to manage because you've got, and I need to be careful how I say this because I don't want to like upset anyone or put anyone down by what I'm saying, because I think obviously a certain level of education is required to be able to advise people on the lifestyle practices, especially with things like drug protocols and stuff like that. And also there's different, some clients are advanced, some are not. But things like that, for being, talking in the real world, to be able to advise someone on what they're putting into their body from a food perspective and also from a drug perspective, is quite a big thing to be advising on. And if you don't really know, or you're just going based off of what you've been told by somebody else who may not be qualified, shall we say, there's definitely a grey area there. So for me, I'm happy in my own knowledge. I know that I have a good level of knowledge to be able to help and advise and coach, but also not just coach from a like telling somebody what to do perspective. I also mean that from I'm quite an empath as a person, so I like to think I'm good at understanding people, helping people move through situations. And I think that's a large part of coaching that people can't actually do. And again, you can be as smart as you want to be, but if you can't use that knowledge and education to be able to implement it with the client and get the client to use those practices, then it's kind of like it doesn't really work all that well. And then also you've got some coaches who are so clever but not so good at the kind of maybe psychology side of things. And I think I sit quite nicely in the middle of that. I have a very good level of knowledge and a good level of being able to deal with people on a people to person level, so to speak. And that's where I would say my strengths as a coach are.
I think it's so important as well when you consider that if you have 100 people coming to do a program with you, every single one of those people is going to have a different reason, a different why that they're there. And you have to be able to decipher what that is and then how you can help them achieve their end goal by giving them the tools and your experience and your knowledge in order to guide them there. And there isn't just like a one size fits all that you can give to everyone. So that's a huge part of coaching.
No, 100%. And I think a lot of the time as well, it's managing people through the process. Like It's 1 to 4. Most people are fine. It's so after that, I start to realize, oh, this, if I really want to get a good physical transformation, I've got to, put some work in. I've got to make some sacrifices. And for me as well, obviously, obviously work with competitive clients, also with lifestyle clients as well. And it's being able to understand the difference between the differing levels of people, shall we say, of athletes,
Sure.
of peoples and persons. Understanding that some people, they've got families, they've got jobs, they've got, kids, they've got things that need to be a priority over the fitness stuff. Like the bodybuilder is different. Like we prioritize training, nutrition at the very top, and then everything else comes beneath that because we're competitive athletes, and that is the elite level of what we're doing. Whereas someone who's got family, like his kids are at the top of that. His life's at the top of that. So we need to be able to build a program and make it sustainable for him to be able to live a good life, look after his family, make sure his wife's happy, make sure he's going to work, not absolutely smash up his ass. He's got energy to be able to work so he doesn't get fired. And then below that, then still be able to have a good enough sustainable program for him to be able to get in shape, eat well, feel good, feel confident. So yes, having the different abilities to be able to work between those different levels.
And do you think that empathetic side of you has always been, that's just come naturally? It's always been very easy for you?
No, I'd probably say not. I think it's developed more over the years. I'd say I've always had it, yes. So yeah, I've always had a level of empathy, yes, and understanding of people for sure. But I guess in relation to your question, it's become more apparent how I now utilize it now with coaches, and I play on it more. Not play on it in the sense that I use it, but like it's always there for me to be able to adapt to people's outcomes or how they're performing. A lot of the time it's like self-belief issues and limiting beliefs and things like that, and it's me being able to then tell them or make them believe in themselves, and like stop comparing yourself to other people, that kind of stuff. It's like, well, if you compare yourself to what you've actually achieved, let's have a look at that now. Let's break it down in the period of time that we've been working together. You've done X, Y, and Z. It's like, this is pretty damn good. And then like, oh, okay, actually, this is pretty good. And then and I think being an open book for people as well. And I think over the past couple of years, I've been through a few of my own, let's say, personal things that have been difficult to deal with myself. And I'm kind of like, I'd say relatively open with that. Maybe I might not talk like down depth details on like, Instagram and stuff, but I'm quite open with dealing with certain things and stuff because I feel it shows people that we're not robots. You know what I mean? Obviously, when it comes to bodybuilding, we can be perceived as robots. We've got to just get it done. But being a human being at the same time, it's important to realize that. Also, we have. I know I personally am quite an emotional person in terms of like I'm in touch with my emotion, which helps me then be in touch with other people's emotion and not just like be blasé and just let people. I'll just crack on with it, mate, type thing, because it's not a good response for a lot of people. People are just going to shut down and push you away if that's your response to them. So it's about just understanding people's the way they think is important. That's my opinion for sure.
And do you think that's something that just the only way you can learn that is just time and experience? Just dealing with more people.
Experience is I think the biggest word there, man. I think going through things yourself helps you understand how to go through things or how not to go through things. How you probably look back on things and be like, I wish I didn't react that way. I wish I didn't do this because of that. And maybe as we get older, I know I used to be I used to be a lot more fiery when I was younger. I'd be reactive in situations rather than take a step back and think about it, what I do now, and then react based upon my thought processes rather than what I just instantly see in front of me. And I think that's definitely helped me a lot. Build up my own, build on my own experiences, I think. And so I guess age, experience definitely helped me in terms of my coaching for sure.
And do you think that's helped not just in your coaching on a personal level with your clients, but also in developing your own business? Because your business now is extremely successful. And has that come with time and just understanding the processes and what's involved in creating a business?
Yeah, I think one thing I like to do is not just build people up as, physical specimens. It's like, obviously I always say, yes, we do that. That's what it says on the tin, right? But I always like to, and I always talk about the fact that it's so much more than that. It's just the physical, yes, but it's also the mindset, the mentality, it's how we think and feel and perform. It's not just because if you look amazing but you feel like shit, what is the point? Like, that is always my mantra on things. You know, you get these guys coming to me who are like doing crazy stuff, and I'm like, you know, are you happy? You know, and it sounds like a bit of a deep, I don't want to get like too spiritual or anything, because I'm not like that. But it's just the basic premise, the basic thought process. Like, are you happy in what you're doing? And that's really important. So I think, yeah, definitely, yeah, in relation to your question, I think this thing's important.
And I think like that's the end goal that I think a lot of people miss, is that our end goal is just to be happy. Whatever it is we're striving for, is there is an element of we want to be happy, whether it's in ourselves or the way we look or validation. And that is, if you can instill that in someone, that's got to be one of the most important parts of your job.
100%. And I think going back to what you said about like, why is my business successful now? I think for me, obviously, client retention is a very important thing. Also, we've got client acquisition, lead generation, all this kind of stuff. But retention is just as important. Like, if you look after your clients and they stick around, then, you know, obviously on the business side of things, that's good for you, because you've still got your, you know, your financial side of things covered from those clients. But that's all the stuff in the background, obviously. But that happens not because you're like, oh, I need to make the money, I need to keep them because of the money. That happens because your thought process is, I need to look after them, I need to make sure they're happy, I need to make sure they're feeling good. Obviously, I need to make sure they're physically progressing, because that's essentially what coaching is, as it says on the tin, on the very bare bones of it. But making sure, and I think as a coach, for me, like, I'm genuinely passionate and I genuinely care about my clients' progress. I have so many other coaches that do as well, and it's amazing to see. But there are, you know, you can see spaces within the industry whereby maybe that isn't such the case, or things are more focused on the financial side of things, because coaching can be a lucrative job for sure. And obviously you see a lot of people benefiting in that sense from it, right? But I guarantee you, most of those people who are making, you know, good money coaching, they're all pretty good at coaching. You know, they get good client transformations. They probably care about their clients. There'll be like a blanket set of kind of like things that all these people do that are genuinely good at coaching, I think, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, and I think that those people that do kind of focus on the numbers, generally they're not going to have anywhere near the type of retention that you do. They're going to have a much higher churn of people coming through their service. Whereas I always think I'd much rather, as someone buying a service, pay a little bit more to invest into someone who's super passionate like you are. You could tell just from listening to you how much you love it. And then stay with that person for a very long time to help you with your goal. Do you think retention is like one of the key things in developing your business?
1,000%, like 100%. Like there was a period of, like, when I was honestly starting out, but a few years ago, where I let my clients' numbers rise way above what I could personally manage, and my service suffered because of it. I'm more than happy to talk about this, because it's all experience, and I personally learned from it, and my service is now of a level that I'm very passionate about. But that was because I let things get away from me in terms of like, I should have started charging more. This is like all from business knowledge as well. You know, I should have improved.
Yeah.
I was learning, I was going through a learning process, and obviously I had people advising me at the same time as well. Potentially I took some wrong advice, but that's on me. At the end of the day, I took the advice. And it was kind of like, I've had different mentors over the years and stuff like that. And I remember each one are amazing for their own, is different, right? But I remember that there was some advice I got at some point. It was just like, they were much more focused on the monetary side of things, right? So I went down that kind of route, and it wasn't a route I found comfortable with. There was a point where my clients were well above what I could handle. Like I said, I was making loads of money, but I wasn't happy. Like, I genuinely wasn't happy. And there was a point, and to prove this, there was a point overnight, I was just like, fuck this. I got rid of half of my clients overnight. One, because also I had so many clients. I also had lots of clients who were kind of like tire kickers. They weren't really like fully invested. I literally got rid of half my clients overnight. Next day I woke up and I was like, what have I done? What have I done? Just half my finances as well. And I was like, do you know what? Like, but the thing is, as much as that was kind of a bit scary, I felt so much better, because I was like, right, now let's rebuild. Let's change the business structure here. Right, I'm going to improve the service. I'm going to lower the amount of people that I'm taking on, and I'm going to charge more for it, because the service is going to be better. I'm going to be spending more time with each client. And like I said, I always have a bit of a laugh when I talk about this, because I think a lot of people would have been through similar things, right? And this was a good few years
Sure.
ago now, and it's something that I've learned from. I actually even mention this to clients when I'm on consult calls with them before, or a sales call, or direct, discovery call, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
before you come on, because I like to highlight the fact that that's, where I've been before. This is where we're
Sure.
at now, and I've learned the differences between the two, and I think it's very important for coaches nowadays to learn the difference between making money and offering a good service. Like
Yeah.
you have to offer the good service first, and then the money will come. It can't be the thought process of I need to make money first, because you'll start doing it wrong. You start cutting corners and rushing things.
That must have been so stressful for you when you got to that point of like, fuck it, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what? I can't even imagine what was going through your head at that point. You must have just fallen out of love with it.
Well, the thing is, mate, looking back on it now, I would have done it so differently, because I think I had like 100. It was a lot. There was a lot of clients, right? Especially the way I was doing things at the time. It wasn't so streamlined as what we have on Kahunas and whatnot, right? So it was taking me a little bit longer to get shit done. But yeah, no, it was a difficult time, but also the thought of what I had to do each week, I was like, oh god, it got to the point where I was like, I was getting anxious about the work. Whereas now I love my work. I've got enough time in the day to deal with the clients that I have and to give them a good service. Whereas back then I was like, or for example, if something came up, I had to like spend half the day doing something else. I was like, oh god, how am I going to catch up here? So yeah, it was definitely a stressful time. And I got into coaching because I love coaching, because I love helping people. But we all end up, we've got to learn from doing things wrong to be able to learn how to do things right. So
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
what I went through.
That's the only way we can grow in anything, is just either learning from someone else's mistakes or learning from our own mistakes.
Yeah, no, 100%. I learned from enough of other people's, and I learned enough of my own.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to learn, man, because you're like, oh shit, that didn't work. I thought that would work. And even against other people's advice before, I've been like, oh, I think this will work. I'll try this, and it doesn't work. You're like, cool. Well, I'll take the hit and move on. Let's go.
Yeah. Been there.
Yeah.
So if you could go back to yourself starting out in coaching, what would be kind of like the number one piece of advice you'd give yourself starting out on your coaching journey?
For me, it would be about building an authentic audience based upon your own beliefs, your own education, your own experience, and then coming up with a marketing approach and strategy that is that mirrors that isn't copying anyone else or isn't fake. Easier said than done, because it's very easy for people nowadays to go out there and just copy other people's content. And at the end of the day, you do need to have a certain level of content that may cross over paths with the way other people are thinking. But I think just being real and true and honest and open in yourself is the most important thing for me. I feel like I base my brand on integrity, on the things that I do, my beliefs. If I'll happily openly say if I don't agree with something, and if people don't agree with that, I'm like, cool, that's fine. That's the beauty of human opinion, right?
Yeah.
But I like to think I'm pretty well balanced in my approach to life. I'm very understanding. Like I said, I'm an empath. But yeah, I think concentrate on you. Don't concentrate on anyone else. And this is a big mistake I see a lot of guys do nowadays. Like, what's such and such are doing? Everyone's at different levels of their career, of their bodybuilding career, or whatever it is that you're doing, right? Maybe even be fitness. Just focus on you, what you're doing, and try and map out a bit of a plan of where you're at. This is one thing, because what I always used to do, especially at the start, was kind of just crack on, right? I wouldn't really have a plan. I wouldn't really have like a goal of where I want to get. And I've actually got this written right here. I would say, you will never exceed your greatest expectations. And that is my kind of favorite kind of go-to quote. And I really like that one, because it's like, if you don't think about things or where you want to get to, you're probably never really going to get there. And some people will, but if you have an idea of you want to get here, you're more than likely going to have a set of action steps to get there. You're probably going to, even if you don't get there, you're going to get pretty damn close to it, right? So just set your goals high. Try and set clear action steps of how you want to get there. When I say goals, I mean, be specific. How many clients do you want? What do you want to charge? Like, do you want coaches working for you? How do you want to build your business? And one other thing as well, I know I've given more than one piece of advice here, but
that's good.
Look to people that have done this shit before you, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Like for me, I didn't reach out for quite a long time. And When I did, my business went boom like that. And I was like, oh, okay, I should have done this before. But I always thought, because back then I wasn't making a lot of money, I was charging not a lot, and it was hard to kind of break that mold of living month to month. And I was like, oh, how can I afford X amount of £1,000 to this guy who's going to help me out? What if it doesn't work? That was my mindset back then, or however many years ago that was. A little bit closed off. And it wasn't until I kind of opened my mind a bit and started, thinking more expansively in a growth mindset approach, that I started to ask for help, reach out to other people. And yeah, this costs you money, right? You got to pay for other people's time, obviously. If you expect people to pay for your time, you got to pay for other people's time. But some of the advices and the things that they're going to give you are going to help you grow exponentially, improve your service, become a better coach, and of course increase your monthly turnover as well. So and then on the back end of that, it's going to help you, people see you for who you are in terms of being a good coach, and that's the best way that you can grow your business is to be being seen good at doing what you do. So just keep improving all the time, one foot in front of the other.
I think that was perfect. It's very well articulated and concise. I think that's a really useful kind of snippet of information for people. So final question for you. If tomorrow you woke up and you've lost all your email contacts, you've lost Instagram, you're kicked off Facebook, what would you do tomorrow to start all over again?
Do you want to know something funny?
Go on.
I'm currently kicked off of Instagram.
Are you?
Yeah. So here we go. Live feed. No, not at all. I mean, it's not. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a stressful few weeks. I've been off. Hoping to get it back within the next few days. I would hope. I've had to. I don't really know how much I can say about it really, but I'm working with a couple of people who we're linked with Meta, who are trying to get it back for me, because going through the normal approaches of getting your Instagram back it just doesn't work, as I'm sure you're aware. You've probably seen it happen to quite a few people over the, obviously it happened with Charlie, and we had nearly over 500,000 followers, and obviously that must have been incredibly stressful for him. And I always used to think, shit, what would happen if that happened to me? And I'm not gonna lie, it's not been ideal at all. So what I have done is I've been creating some content. So obviously I've had some more time, so I've been creating content ready for when I hopefully get it back. However, if God forbid I didn't get it back, I've also got another coaching page as well, which obviously I'm just going to have to start building up from there. But this is going to give me a big lesson, because what I'm going to do is continue building that page. When I get my other one back, I'm going to continue building that, so I have two. I'm going to keep working on building my email list, which is quite good anyway. But I want to keep building that with like lead magnets and things like that. So this is something I would say for people to look into, because you never think it's going to happen to you until it does. And I'll be completely honest with you, like, it's been stressful, nearly a month that I've been offline now. I have people messaging me left, right, and center on WhatsApp. Sorry, being like, "Where are you, bro? Not seen you on Instagram for a while." And I'm like, it's nice that people care, of course, to reach out for me. But yeah, to have it kind of go down was a bit of a nightmare. So it was actually nearly 4 weeks ago now. So, but I'm working with an agent now who is pretty confident I should have it back very soon. But again, actually,
no, I'm not surprised. Yeah. It's and you're right. It's one of those things that nobody ever thinks is going to happen to them.
No.
And I think probably one of the worst aspects of it is you have no control. There's not like some guy you can call up and say, "Oh, can you just review my account quickly? Like, here's whatever you need from me to get it live."
Honestly, it's very difficult. It's terrible. You fill out a form. I filled out multiple forms, to be honest, and it says, "We'll get back to you." Cool. Nothing. Nothing. So yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, I think there should be a better way of doing it, because obviously mine's a business account. I even did one where I had to send off my incorporation as a business from Company's House over to them. I sent off a tax certificate, I sent off ID, all this kind of stuff, but still, not heard anything back. So it's like, do they not realize this is people's businesses and livelihoods? So it's very stressful. But what I would suggest, 100%, guys, always have like some kind of backup account that you can grow on the side, whether it's a transformation account or whatever. Work on an email list as well. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be difficult, because an email list is going to be good it's never going to replace Instagram, because you know it's just a completely different type of marketing. However, if you haven't got it, you know, you may as well get it, you know, because it can at least help you in the interim period of when you don't have it. For example, you know, you can potentially run out an offer or whatever it is, and you know, it's just different ideas. But yeah, it's it's a live broadcast on my Instagram going down.
Yeah, mate. I'm so sorry. I hope you get it sorted.
Yeah, no, I will do. Every day that goes past is another day that I'm not on my main feed, shall we say? But we move. Well, hopefully he comes back.
I had no idea what happened though. I got kicked.
Oh, he's back. Got kicked out.
Kicked out my own stream.
I was like, I'm running the show now.
It's probably because we were talking about Instagram shutting you down.
Oh yeah, I know that. Good.
Jumped in and kicked us off.
They're trying to cancel me.
Yeah,
I've been cancelled and everything.
So, for anyone that wants to find out more about you, where can they currently go to get in touch with you?
So my Instagram is don't go there. Well, my actual Instagram is @Joe Ballinger Fitness. So you know, potentially by the time that you guys watch this, it might be back online. So I'll put that out there. I've also got my coaching page, which is @TheNewBreedCoaching. So you should be able to get on there, and obviously we'll be getting new content and whatnot on there. And to be honest, those are probably the main places to get me, to be fair. So you go check those out. And I'm always very open with, like, if anyone has any questions or anything. It doesn't even have to be to do with coaching. Could be just anything, whatever. Reach out. I always put my thing out there as well for talking about, like, you know, mental health and stuff like that, especially with guys in bodybuilding. I think there's definitely a bit of a stigma there. So I would say if anyone's ever going through anything or struggling with anything, again, feel free to reach out to me. And I was, you know, I regularly chat with a few guys on there, like voice notes and whatnot, and try and help people out where I can. So if anyone's going through anything, feel free to reach out, and hopefully my Instagram will be online soon for me to be able to help out in that respect.
That's awesome, man. That's really, like, incredible that you do that.
It's I think, like, it's just one of the things, isn't it? It's, if you don't kind of, sometimes, you know, to put posts out every now and again, like, if anyone's, you know, you see a few people doing it from time to time, but a lot of the time, especially with guys who are, like, you know, bodybuilders, alpha males, all that kind of stuff. And it's, as much as it's a stigma and people say, you know, just chill out, it's like, if somebody's thinking that way, they're thinking that way. You can't just change the way they think, right? So I was to say, look, you can reach out to me, and not anonymously, the word is confidentially, I should be saying.
Sure.
You know, obviously nothing's going to go anywhere, and just, it's nice for people to talk about things so sometimes. And one thing I think I'm good at, and this is again through meeting some people that I've met this year and helped me with my own thinking, is a matter of perception. And I think perception is a very strong word, like how we perceive certain situations, things, people, you know, whatever it may be, is so important. Sometimes if somebody says one thing to you, it can change your perception on something entirely. And I think being able to have those conversations with people is important. So yeah, anyway, well, that's a whole nother podcast, probably.
Yeah, it is. Because I really resonate with what you're saying, because I've met a lot of people or got friends that are at such a high level that they sometimes get anxious. They have, like, just issues in general where they'll get upset, and then they'll be upset at the fact they're upset because they're at such a high level. They're so successful, they're everything else. So now they feel guilty for having some sort of, like, anxiety, and then they end up on this spiral, and it's really difficult. And the best thing you can really do is just talk about it.
100%. Like, you know, I went through, like, a tough breakup in 2020, and it was the first time I'd ever been in that type of situation. I found it very difficult to deal with. And I would say that was the first time in my life that I've been, like, legit, like, depressed, and I went for counselling and all this kind of stuff. And again, I'm super open with talking about it because I know it can help other people. And it just, I took so much value in it, but it was a time where I was like, I shouldn't feel like this, you know. I'm me. I do what I do. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a man. I shouldn't. I've struggled with my feelings, all these kind of things. And, you know, I'm talking very, like, bluntly there. Those weren't specifically
Yeah.
my thoughts, but I'm talking bluntly because I know a lot of guys will have similar thoughts like that. But it wasn't until I started talking to people, with counseling, speaking to people openly about it, that I really felt more comfortable talking more. And then it just genuinely helps because it takes things out of your head and problem shared is a problem half type thing. And that really, really helped 100%. So definitely speaking out about things. And I know we're kind of talking more mental health now compared to bodybuilding and stuff, but it's they definitely go hand in hand for sure. So, definitely speaking out if you're struggling with anything, it is very important indeed.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate all your time today.
Absolute pleasure, man. I really enjoyed that. It was a good chat.